Right. Today we're going to keep looking at the same kind of problems we did yesterday from 4.1. Today's 4.2. So now we're going to take all the expressions that we set up yesterday and we're actually going to be able to solve them. So they're going to give us the same information you had yesterday plus one more sentence at the end. All right. So Mr. Roy is going to go through the first few steps, which are very similar.
Guys, don't worry about the goal. Don't worry about the goal right now. We'll come back to that at the end. All right. So first step, 1A, 1B, 1C. Like I said, are the same as yesterday. Someone raise their hand. Tell me what 1A is when you look back over your notes. What's 1A? What was step 1A from yesterday? Someone tell me by raising their hand.
Identify the 1, 2, or 3 if necessary unknowns.
Yeah. So identify the 1, 2, or 3. Again, not too many times today are we gonna have the 3 unknowns. We had one last night in the homework with the coin problem. Most of the time too, tomorrow, yes, we'll get into some 3. The unknowns you have to find. All right, so when we're doing our template, our little chart, most of the time it's gonna only be 2. But every once in a while, like the last one on the homework last night, you might have to find 3, okay? So step 1A, yes, everyone good? Gage, you good? Checking for your facial hair to make sure?
No, I was just copying it.
All right. So step 1A, identify the 1, 2, or 3 unknowns. 1B. What do people have for 1B? Ariana?
Represent one unknown in the letter.
Yeah. Represent the one unknown, the one that's written last, right? Right before the period. That's the last unknown. That's going to get the single variable. X, B, C, all right? Whatever it is. So step 1B, represent the one unknown. It's usually written last as the single letter, the second thing in the sentence. That's going to get 99% of the time, like we did yesterday, that's going to get you a single variable, right? Your one letter. People good with 1C? I mean 1B, I'll leave it up there for a second.
Go up a little.
Up a little bit? Good. I can go down to 1C, right, Gage? All right, 1C. Jalen.
Represent the other unknown based on the information given.
Yeah, represent the other unknown. So it's like it's 3 less than whatever that second one is. It's always based on that variable. All right, so that single variable is going to show up in the other unknown because you don't know anything yet about that second thing, that second unknown. So everything is based on whatever that letter is. Again, just like we did, this is all the same stuff that we did yesterday. Nothing new. Step 1, 2, 1A, 1B, 1C, all exactly the same as yesterday. Nothing changes. All right, I'll give you guys about a few more seconds to get that written down. So again, nothing, this stuff doesn't change. It's the same as what we did yesterday. The box, I mean, there'll be more added to it on your little chart, but it'll be exactly the same. That box will look exactly the same. Obviously, there's going to be more to it, more boxes, but that's going to have the same. It'll be the same stuff. All right. So we got to identify the unknowns, like label them. Is it Mark's age, Steve's age, whatever. Right? You'll label first. That's step 1A, 1B. Okay. Second thing written, that gets my single variable, and then. Third thing, how am I going to represent that first unknown based on what I have for the second unknown, what I have for that single variable? All right? I'm going to move on, guys. If we need to get this, I can come back to it after. All right? Now, I can go up a little bit. People can get that. Okay. The next 2 steps that we do today are going to be new because now we're solving for 2, sometimes 3 unknowns. Yesterday we just set it up. We just represented them. That's all we did. We did like that first box. That's all we did. Today, we're actually it's going to give us more information where we can make the 2 things, the 2 unknowns that we set up. Now we're going to be able to solve for them. We're going to have to set them up in an equation and actually solve. We might get, like I said, we're going to get another piece of information. We go over a problem, you'll see what I mean. All right? So this stuff is new today. Step 2. I know it's kind of written long, but once we start going over it, it'll make more sense. All right, so step 2, we're going to set up an equation. Those 2 unknowns that we set up, one will be the single variable, One could be, x minus 5, whatever it is. We're going to set up an equation using the 2 or 3 unknowns that we did in that first box. We're going to look for keywords like difference. Difference means what? Difference means what? Jalen? If I have $5, you have $3. What's the difference?
Oh, you have more than me?
I have more than you. What's the difference between the amount of money we have? I have 5, you have 3.
Addition?
Huh?
Addition?
No. Who knows? Subtraction, right? Difference is always subtraction. All right? So words like difference, what is, Jalen, what's up?
We only have 3 and 4.
Huh?
Yeah, we only have steps 3 and 4. We don't have a step 2 on here.
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. Change that step 3 to step 2. My fault. Change that step 3 to step 2. All right, so this will be step 2. All right, set up an equation. You're going to look for keywords like difference means subtract. Sum. What's sum mean? Addition. And then you might get and. The sum, you might get and. Change. Let me say it again. Change step 3 to step 2. Just cross out the 3, put a 2. Okay? So on your thing it'll say step 3, it should be step 2. Change it to step 2. Alright? To connect your unknowns. So you're going to have 2 pieces of information, but then words like difference, sum, and, those will be words that you're going to use to separate those 2 unknowns. Alright, you might put 2x minus 5 if it's sum plus x, because x was the other unknown. You're going to take your 2 unknowns, now we're going to set up an equation. Use given number in second sentence with an equal sign to complete the equation. So you're going to get one sentence like yesterday. Then you're going to get another sentence. It might say the sum of their ages is 64. We know is means equal, so we're going to put our equal sign to whatever number it gives us in that second sentence. Again, when we go through a problem, this will make a little bit more sense. All right, so for it says step 3 on your note sheet, make sure you change it to step 2. This is what we want to do. Set up an equation using 2 or 3 unknowns. Look for keywords like different, sum, or and to connect your unknowns. Use the given number in the second sentence with an equal sign to complete the equation. Like I said, when we look at an example, that last piece, use the given number, that'll make a little bit more sense. All right? Step 3 is not going to be quite as long. Okay? So make sure if you're done writing, guys, on your sheet, make sure you change step 4 to step 3. The next step we're going to write down, change that step 4 to step 3. Okay? Because you're not going to know how to do it, then you're going to be upset. All right, I'll give you guys about 20 more seconds to get that step 2 written down. Like I said, if you're done writing, make sure you cross out step 4, or cross out the 4 and make it a 3. It's going to be step 3. Guys, I'm going to go up. Step 2 will still be up there. I'm just going to go down to the next thing. Step 3, all right, you're going to plug in. This is going to be a thing on the chart, an extra box. You're going to plug in the letter you solved for in step 2. So when you're done step 2, you'll have solved an equation. You're going to get x equals, or whatever letter you chose, all right, that's going to be equal to something now. You're going to solve an equation. We're going to go back to where we labeled everything. Paul's age, Steve's age, whatever. All right, and we're going to use our labels from step 1 to find your answer. And then on the chart, you're going to have a little box that looks like this with dots around it with equals. You're going to write in what each person's, whatever you solve for. So we're going to have to go back in, use the labels we set up. So when you solve in step 2, you're going to get one answer. You're going to solve for that, usually that second unknown, because it's the single letter. So you'll get that, and then for the first unknown, you're gonna have to plug whatever that letter is in to get that first unknown. And again, I know it seems a little confusing now, but once we go through an actual problem, it'll make a little bit more sense. Right, so we're gonna plug in the letter you solved for in step 2 and use your labels from step 1 to find your answer. And we'll put our answer in the little dash box with the equal sign. All right? So these two, this is new today. Right, like I said, it said step 3 on your notes. It should be step 2. It said step 4 on your notes. It should be step 3. I'm just going to change that on your notes. All right? So these 2 steps, new today. And like I said, it might seem a little confusing when we go through and use the template. All right? As you guys can see on your notes there, the template's got a little bit more to it today. But once we go through it and start working through some of these problems, it's going to make a little bit more sense. All right? I'm going to go to the next slide, guys. Okay, if we need to come back at the end, we can. If you missed something, let me know. All right, so we're on example 1. That should be the first one on the bottom of your note page. So we got the price of a book is $3 less than twice the price of a tape. Suppose we spent 63 on the book and tape. How much is the book? How much is the tape? So 1A, 1B, 1C. Exactly the same as yesterday. This box kind of looks the same, except we added these equal signs and stuff. So first thing we can decide is how are we going to set up, or what are we trying to find? What are our unknowns going to be in this problem, Mr. Galan?
The variables.
Well, not yet. What 2 things do I have to solve for? Hold on 1 second, Gage.
The price of the book and the price of the tape.
I'm going to put book and I'm going to put tape, just like I did yesterday. Book, tape. Just like we did yesterday. All right? Book and tape. Now, what do I have to decide from yesterday? Just like yesterday, what do I have to decide now? Who remembers from yesterday? Caitlin?
Which one gets the single variable?
Okay, Caitlin said which one gets a single variable. I agree. Which one will get the single variable?
The tape.
The tape, right? All right, what do you want to put? X. We're going to use that. X is fine. All right? So we're going to put X for tape. Okay? Now, again, we're still only using that first sentence. So I did 1A, all right? I put my 2 unknowns in. I did 1B, figured out which one gets a single variable. Now I'm on 1C. What do I have to do for 1C? Who knows? 1C, what do we have to do? Say it, Corey? Corey says 3, so he's gonna figure out his first unknown now based on the information given. So you say that again? 3 minus X. So that means the price of a book is 3 less than twice the price of a tape. What key word do we see up there? Ryan. Twice is good. Less than, right? What's less than mean? Subtract. I'm gonna put my subtract sign in there. What should go after the subtraction sign? Anybody know? What should go after the subtraction sign? All right. Corey's not sure. What should go after the subtraction sign? Victor?
Would it be 3?
3, right? It's going to be 3 because it's less than 3. Whenever it's less than, it's going to be the second part of the problem. Put your minus, and whatever number comes before that, you're going to put after. You're going to reverse the order. All right, so minus 3. That's less than 3. What is less than 3? What's it say in the problem? 2x, right? Corey says 2x. I agree with him. Because twice is 2. The price of a tape, all we know about the price of a tape right now is x. That's what we're trying to find out. So price of a tape right now is x. Twice the price of a tape, 2x. Bang. That's the same exact thing we did yesterday. Same exact. Now we get into the new stuff. Now we got to take this. Oops. Oh, I did that. Now I'm going to take this information, all right? I got to take this information and plug it in. All I'm doing right now, taking unknown 1, putting it down here. Taking unknown 2, putting it down here. Then I'm going to figure out, look, see how I have my different signs here? Plus, minus, multiply, divide. I have to decide, based on what the problem gives me, what I'm going to separate those two problems with. So all I'm going to do is take these two things and bring them down. 2x minus 3 and x over here. My unknown 1 was 2x minus 3. Unknown 2 was just x. All right? Here's our choices. Add, subtract, multiply, divide. Which sign, because now I'm looking at that second sentence. Suppose we spent 63 on the book and tape. That's what I need to use now. All right? So, what operation is going to separate those two unknowns? Add, subtract, multiply, divide. Corey says addition. Anybody think anything different? Anybody think anything different than plus or addition? I agree with Corey. It's going to be addition. All right? Suppose we spent 63 on the book and. When it's and, we're going to add. It's the two things together. The book and tape. The two things together. When I put something together, I use addition. Anybody out there think they might know what it's going to equal? In that second sentence, right? Look at the second sentence. What do you think this equation we just set up is going to equal? Caitlin?
63.
Exactly. The only number given in that second sentence is 63. So it's going to equal the number given. That's the only number given to us in the second sentence. So I look at that second sentence to tell me what operation I'm going to use and what it's going to equal. Okay? Now I got to scroll down. Now I'm just going to solve the equation. I'm going to go through and solve everything. What can I do first? Anybody know? I do first.
Plus 3 to 36.
Not yet.
63.
Say it again.
Not yet. I don't know.
Minus x to 2x.
Not minus x. Look, they're on the same. I agree with you doing with the x's, Maria, but we don't have to subtract. Combine like terms. The x and the 2x are on the same side of the equal sign, right? So I can combine them. I can combine these guys. 3x, right? The negative 3 is still there, equals 63. Now, what did you want to do before, Gage?
Plus 3 to 63.
Plus 3 to 63. Now we get the x by itself. There's nothing else with the x in it. I want to leave that alone.
66.
Add 3, add 3. I'm going to write it over here. Like Gage just said, 3x equals 66. Last thing I'm going to do, Corey, divide by 3, divide by 3. X equals what? 22. All right, so I'm going to take that, my letter, which was x, equals 22. Now, I got to go back up. I'm going to plug in, now I got to take this last row that I just did, right? Because now I have to plug in. So, x is what? What's x? 22. So, x right here is 22. There's no math involved here. 22 equals 22. Now I go up to my first unknown. That's going to take a little bit more math. I got to plug in for x now. What's that equation? Well, it's not an equation anymore. What's that problem going to look like when I plug in x? What's it going to become? Jalen? 2 times 22 minus 3. Taking the information that was here, I solve for x. Now I'm going to plug in. I'm just going to work. Once I solve this, I'm just going to work to the next spot up here. All right? 20. Anybody know what 22 times 2 is? 44. Then what, Maria? Which is? 44 minus 3? 41. All right, good. Now I go back, right? What's the book going to be? How much is the book going to cost? I solve for unknown 1, right? What's the book gonna cost? What am I gonna write in a little box? Anybody know? 41, right? Again, I'm just working my way back across. The book equals 41. How about the tape? 22. This is where it gets a little bit tricky when you're going to go back up here. You're plugging in for X. The second unknown is easy. You don't have to do any math. It's 22, right? So we know that I take this, put it in that box. The tape equals $22. This one involved a little more math. All right, I had to do a little more math here, do a little bit of evaluating. All right, 41. It's on this. It's on that row. It's on that unknown 1, right, row. The book equals $41. All right. Again, I don't get freaked out. It's only the first one that we did. All right. Once we go through a few more, it's going to make a little bit more sense. All right. So you want to do one? All right.
Right, just to show you guys, this will be on the test. Okay? And if this was the problem you were writing down and putting it in this template, this would say, what was the first thing we had? Was it book? Was that the first thing? Book? Yeah. So this one would say book. This one would say tape. And now the 4 things I'd be looking for are 2x minus 3 and x. Those would be the first 2 things. Okay. And if you got just that, I'd give you half credit because you got 2 out of the 4 things I'm looking for. All right. And then the actual answers are, what did they each cost? 41 and 22? The book was 41, 22. Those are the 4 things I'd be looking for in that problem. Okay. Any question on that?
So, Mr. Hager, would you give them the labels, book and tape? Would you give them the unknowns there, or do they have to put that in themselves?
They'll have the unknowns there.
All right, so
Yeah.
they're already in there. Okay.
Yep. So the only thing you're going to have to fill in are those 4 things. Exactly what's in the table. All right. Let's look at example. Was this example 1?
Yeah.
Example
So
2.
you're on the back side now, guys.
So this one said a board is cut into 2 pieces. All right. So what should we set up our unknowns as? A board is cut into 2 pieces. And if you read that second sentence, it kind of tells you what to call them. Yep. Yeah, the first piece and the second piece. All right, so we got first piece, second piece. All right. Next thing we have to decide, which one gets the single letter? Second piece, how come?
First one.
Right, Sabrina?
It's at the end of the sentence.
It's at the end of the sentence. Good. All right. Second piece. What could we call it? We need to pick a letter. Sabrina, I'll let you pick it. Yeah, we can pick X. You could use X all the time if you want. That's fine. So second piece is X. Right now we got to read this sentence. The first piece is 7 less than 3 times the second. Right? So when I read that second sentence, think of your order of operations. If there's any multiplication in this sentence, deal with that before you deal with subtraction. Subtraction is the last thing we deal with. So is there any multiplication here? Victor? Yeah, what's going to be the multiplication part? 3 times the second piece. How would you write that? Good. There's 3 times the second. We know less than means subtract. Is it 3x minus 7? Or is it 7 minus 3x? Think about where the 7 is, and think about what less than means, yeah? Good. 3x minus 7. Okay, any questions on that? All right, now we're going to write down our 2 expressions. Expression 1 is 3x minus 7. Expression 2 is x. And now we have to decide how they're going to be combined. Right? Let's read that last sentence. Actually, no, go back to the first sentence. A board 81 centimeters long. Okay, so it's like you took the board and you cut it into two pieces, how would you get the total length of the board again? Pretend, piece 1, you have piece 2, and if you glued them back together, what would that be like doing in math, gluing these pieces back together? You take the two pieces and do what? Ryan?
Adding?
Yeah, you'd add them back together. Perfect. Right? And if we take piece 1 and piece 2, put them back together, how long is the board after you put them back together? Yeah, if you put it back together, it's 81 centimeters.
And guys, this is one of those rare cases where usually you get that number given in the second sentence, but in this one it happened to be in the first sentence. Most of the time, 95% of the time, it's going to be that second sentence where you're going to get that information, but this one, it just happened to be the first sentence.
All right, so now we're going to solve, and when we're done, we are going to know how long the second piece is. All right, so let's solve this equation. Justin, what would I do on the left-hand side first? Do you have any like terms you can combine?
3x.
3x
And the x.
and the x, good. So what do you get if you combine 3x with, think of that as 1x?
4x.
4x, good. 4x minus 7 equals 81. And we got 2 steps left. Callan, can you tell me my next step? Subtract 7? Well, if you do a -7 and another -7, they wouldn't cancel out. So how would you cancel -7? Yeah, you'd add the 7. Okay, add 7. So we get 4x, 81 plus 7 gives me 88. And my last step, divide by 4. Okay, and that's actually going to go in nicely. Anybody know 88 divided by 4? If not, we just use our calculator, but yeah, 22. So x is 22. All right, so now we're going to go back up. We're going to fill in 22. Is that the same answer we got on the last problem for one of them?
Yeah.
Just a coincidence that happened? I don't think the other answer is going to be the same. And there's no math to do here. Okay, it's just x. X is 22. Okay, now in the top one, we've got a little bit of arithmetic. What am I going to fill in for x? What number? 22. So we got 3 times 22. Take away 7. All right. Again, on the test, I would use your calculator just so you don't make any silly mistakes.
You can do that whole thing right on your calculator. 3 times 22 minus 7.
59. Okay. So now, how long is the first piece of board here? First piece is how long? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, 59. Okay, so that's 59 centimeters. And how long is the second piece? Maria? 22. Yep, good. Okay, any questions on that one? All right, so we're only going to do 5 problems. We've already done 2, so we just have three left. We're going to try, I think, a couple more with 2, and then we've got one that have 3 unknowns, okay, like yesterday. All right, so just for time, let's work through this together, because the next one is a little harder. Okay, but this one isn't too bad. The larger of 2 numbers is 3 times the smaller. If you add them up, their sum is 28. Find the numbers. All right, Zach, what are my 2 unknowns?
Larger, smaller.
Perfect. Larger, smaller. Larger, smaller. All right. How about Jalen? What do I do next?
When it's the
Perfect. Which one gets that single variable? Which one does get it here? Smaller or larger? Smaller. What do you want to use for smaller? Sounds good. X. Okay, now we have to decide on the larger. Davin, it says the larger is 3 times the smaller. So what's the larger if it's 3 times the smaller?
3x.
Good job, 3x. All right, so now we've decided on our algebraic expressions. Now we got to set up our equation. Read the second sentence. What word in that sentence tells you which operation it's going to be? Sum. If you add each of these numbers up, the sum of these numbers, the first number, or the larger, plus the smaller, add them together, and what are these two numbers going to add up to? Caitlin? They're going to add up to 28. Okay. So now we'll combine like terms. 4x equals 28. And last,
Example 3 right now.
Divided by 4 on both sides.
divide by 4. And that means x is
X equals 7.
7. Good. All right, so now we can plug that back in for smaller. Okay, in the bottom one, there's no arithmetic. There's nothing to simplify. Plug x in for 7. It's 7. In the top one, there's a little bit of arithmetic, but not too much. X is 7. What's 3 times 7? Yeah, 21. So now we have our answers. Okay? The larger piece is going to be 21, or not piece, sorry, larger number is 21. And the smaller number is 7. Great. Any questions on that? All right, so 2 more. Okay, we'll do 1 more with 2, and then we'll finish up with one that has 3. Or actually, does this one have 3?
I don't think we have any with 3 mistaken.
No.
Yeah, this one does. Bob, Jim, and Casey.
Yeah.
Yep, and actually the 5th one is the one I was thinking of that's a little tricky. All right, so let's we'll do the one with 3 first, and then we'll go back to 2. All right, so it says Bob has 3 times as many records as Jim. Ben, what are my 2 things here in that first sentence?
Bob and Jim.
Yeah. Bob, Jim. All right. Next thing we want to decide is who gets the single variable. How about Ryan? Who's going to get the single variable?
Jim.
Jim. Yep. Jim's at the end of the sentence. How do you want to represent Jim, Ryan?
J.
Yeah, J's fine. Could use J for this one. I'm going to use capital J. And now it says Bob has 3 times as many as Jim. So if Jim has J and Bob has 3 times as much, how much does Bob have? That's- Bob Victor? Read that first sentence to me. What does it say?
3 times, so it would be 3J.
Yeah. Bob has 3 times Jim. Jim is J. So 3 times J. All right. Any questions on that part? All right. Now we've got 1 more unknown. Casey. All right. So on your 3rd unknown, write Casey. And now we got to write how many Casey has. Casey has 5 fewer than Bob. All right. So we know how many Bob has. how would you represent 5 fewer than Bob? Basically, take Bob and decrease it by 5. Yep,
Is it gonna be 3J minus 5?
perfect, yep. This is where it's important to make sure you get Bob right, because if you mess up Bob, then we're automatically going to mess up Casey. Okay? Right, so there's all our expressions. Now let's read the last, or second to last sentence. Together, the boys have a total of 16 records. So what does that mean? They have a together. If you take Bob's, Jim's, Casey's, what are you going to do with all of them together? You're going to add them all up. Okay? So this time you're going to have 3 algebraic expressions. Bob's records plus Jim's records plus Casey's records. I'm going to add all 3 of them up. And if you do that, what's the total number they all have?
16.
They have a total of 16. Okay, now it's going to be very similar to what we just did. We're going to solve for our letter. Okay, let's combine all our J's first. We have 3J, 1J, and 3 more J. Yeah. 3 and 1 gives me 4, and 3 more gives me 7. So I get 7J. Did that, did that, did that. What do I still have next to the 7J? Yeah?
Minus 5.
Still have a minus 5 equals 16. Okay, two steps left. Gabe, what would be my next step here? Well, you got all the things with letters on the left-hand side, right? The 7 and the J. So we're going to put all the things without letters on the right side. So how would we do that?
Add the 5 to 16.
Yeah, you're going to add the 5 to both sides. Okay, just going to continue my work over here. 7J equals, then do 16 plus 5. And now my last step. Alex?
Divide by 7.
Good. Divide by 7. Divide by 7. And now I know J equals 3. Okay. So now I know Jim has 3 records. So I'm going to write that down. Jim, fill in 3 for J. Is there any arithmetic I need to do? Not for Jim. Okay, that's done. Now we have to go back and find Bob and Casey. Okay, let's start with Bob. What do we fill in for J? Yep, 3. So we have 3 times 3. All right, there's our arithmetic. Bob has 9. And do it one more time. Fill in 3 for J with Casey. 3 times 3, which is 9. What's 9 take away 5? 4. So basically, these are your answers. Okay? We just copied them over next to the names so we could see it closer. So Bob has 9, Jim has 3, and Casey has 4. Okay, that's pretty much the hardest type you could have with these. They have 3. And it's really not that much worse. Okay, if you use the template, I think that makes it easy. All right. Any questions before we go to our last problem? Last one's a little tricky, so we're going to help you through it.
Is this gonna be on our homework?
Yep.
Yeah, there will be one with 3 on your homework.
Yep. All right. So this one is just a 2. Okay, just a 2. All right, and it says this year, the price of a stamp increased by 1/5 of the price last year. All right, let's just identify the 2 things. And we did one just like this in the notes yesterday. Yeah.
This year.
This year and last year. So this year, last year. All right. So I'm just going to read through the whole thing. Okay? It says the price this year is 30 cents. That's a little different. They're actually telling me what the price this year is. All right? So let's decide which one gets the single variable. Oh, I'm looking at the end of the sentence. I see the words last year. I'm going to use L. Okay. We'll come back to that second sentence where it says the price this year is 30 cents. We're going to need that, but not yet. Now we're going to look at what the increase was. When you see increase, what operation is that? Addition. So the price this year, it's going up. Okay? It's going up. So to figure out what the increase is, take what it started at and add the increase. What's the price before we increase it? What did the price start at? Think of like last year's price. L. Okay. So to get the price this year, you're going to take what it was before and you're going to add the increase. Okay, we're going to add something to it. And this first sentence tells us how much we're going to add. 1/5 of last year's price. So we're going to take last year's price and we're going to increase it by 1/5 of last year. Right? So we start with 1/5. What does of mean? Multiply. And it's 1/5 of what? Last year, which is represented by L. That one's tricky, but that's your setup. Okay. So L plus 1/5 L, that's this year, and last year is L. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, let's just keep in mind our goal. Find the price last year. Okay, so we're trying to find L. Okay, what other piece of information do I know that I haven't used yet? Yep? The price of this year's stamp is how much?
30 cents.
All right. Watch this. The price of this year's stamp this year is 30 cents. That's this year. How did we write this year? L.
Plus
No, oh wait, I'm sorry.
Yep, L plus 1/5 L. That's how we wrote this year's price. But they're telling us this year's price is 30 cents. All right? So this year's price, L plus 1/5 L, we know what this price comes out to. How much does it come out to? Comes out to 30 cents. 30 is the number given in this one. All right, so that's a little tricky. Notice we didn't use unknown 2. All we did was use unknown 1. We actually didn't use the second unknown. All right, so that's kind of a little twist on it. That one's a little different. All right, so now we're going to do this out. Okay, what I'm going to do is make that a little smaller so we can fit it in. Did everybody still read it? L plus 1/5 L equals 30? All right. To make this easier, I'm going to change this to decimals. What number is in front of L, the first one? I have 1 plus 1/5. Okay, let's do that on our calculator. 1/5 plus 1. Okay, 1.2. Right, so I just added those together. 1.2 L equals 30. And what's my last step? Kevin?
Divide.
Yep.
1.2.
Yeah, we'll divide by 1.2. And when we're done, we're done. Like, we're going to have the final answer. Last year's price equals, just type 30 divided by 1.2. Last year's price was 25 cents. All right, so we go back up. We've really already answered the question. Okay? Last year's price is 25 cents. Is there any arithmetic I need to do here? No. And they already told me this year's price. How much was it? 30 cents. And that's not what they were really asking anyway. They were only asking for one thing in this problem. Last year's price. Okay? Don't worry about this year's price. They already gave it to you. You don't need to find it if they give it to you. All right, so that one, a little tricky. You're not going to have that many like that one. Okay, at most one. All right. Okay, questions on that?
No, I don't think we can get anything that
Yeah.
different.
All right, so tonight, okay, just like last night, we'll have you guys do a worksheet. Okay, worksheet will be on the website, and we'll take a look at it first thing tomorrow. Don't forget, test on Friday.